This is one of my recent clients, Google Analytics. And you can see back in mid 2024, they weren't really generating a lot of sales and a lot of revenue from organic search, from search engines, from Google. Now, you can see as we worked on the site and our organic strategy took hold and we drove traffic and we filled the website with buyers, not just browsers and informational content, you can see things really started to pick up quite dramatically into early 2025 when you can see they went from not a lot to making some days almost hitting $20,000 a day, $15,000 a day, $10,000 a day, a massive spike in revenue. And you can see as we scroll down that total purchases were pretty sluggish as well. You can see that it was, again, one every few days until it started to pick up. We were getting 12, 15, 23, and growing that alongside revenue so that every day they were at least sort of getting at least 10 to 20 sales as this strategy took hold, which is awesome. And so in this video, I want to show you exactly how you can do the same for your website. I want to show you how you can fill your website with buyers, not just pumping out lots of informational content, but actually building an SEO marketing funnel that drives revenue for your business. And we're going to do this. I've actually decided I'm going to pick an actual business that we can work through and show you how I'd build an SEO strategy for a random company. This is actually a company called SendFox. It's just an email marketing tool and newsletter tool. So actually quite a competitive industry for SEO. I'm going to break it down, show you how we go through the technical, the on-page, the off-page, everything to build an SEO strategy for a company like this. By the way, I don't work with these guys or anything. This is just a random company I picked for the purpose of this video. So where do we begin? Where does an SEO strategy start? And I just need to add something important here. If you've got a website, but it's not actually generating you any customers, it's kind of just empty or no one's actually inquiring or buying what you're selling, then that's exactly what I do. I help businesses turn their websites into revenue generating engines with these deep target SEO strategies. So if that sounds like something you could use help with, then there's a link in the description where you can book a free SEO strategy call with me. Well, it all starts with a website audit, and website audits are super important because they're really important because they help me get to know a business. If I can dig down into everything about a company does, both within their website, outside their website, and their general marketing, then it's going to really get me a good understanding of the business and what they're doing already, where they're lacking, where they're failing, where they can be improved. Adding to this, it's going to help me spot errors. It's going to actually help me spot any technical problems that are stopping this content from being ranked, stopping their link process from being worked, stopping Google crawling the site, and allow me to understand and fix any errors to build the foundation and the bedrock of a website that's going to perform highly with SEO. Now, your website audit's really going to take two routes at this point. The first thing is a technical breakdown. We need to do a full technical website audit to find any of the areas that are stopping a website from ranking. If you've got technical problems, it might not matter what you do with your content or your backlinks or anything like that if Google can't even crawl the site properly. So that's the first thing. We need to find and fix any errors to build the foundation of our website. And the second thing I like to do is an on-page content audit, get to know every page on the website, what keywords are ranking for, what can be improved, what can be deleted, what we need to add, and going through the website systematically to fully understand it. So but by the end of this section, we then have a good idea of what we need to fix, what we need to improve, and then we can start doing more research for keywords. You could also do sort of backlink and off-page audits at this point as well, but we'll get to that later in the video. So the first place to start is a technical breakdown. I need to find anything wrong with the site and how it can be improved. And to do that, I'm going to open up my mega SEO audit checklist template, which is going to help me find any errors on a site. And you can see it's 150, 170 questions, something like that, to work through to make sure we've got everything we need, from just is Google Search Console connected to are the canonical tags correct, to FAQ schema, to all sorts of security things, looking at any SEO plugins that are on there and whether they're set up correctly, all sorts of things in there. Now, as a part of this, I need a few tools to work with. The first one, one of the most important tools, is completely free, and that's Google Search Console. I love Google Search Console. It's the best way to actually get a feel and see inside Google's brain to see what it thinks of your website. Now, we can see performance data in here as well, but we can also see indexing problems. We can see pages that are indexed and not indexed. We can see sitemaps. We can see core web vitals. We can even go digging into the settings and start to see that how often the site is being crawled by Google. Really great information to spot if there's any problems in here. So that's number one that I'll start looking around in, and is linked to this technical spreadsheet, because a lot of the things we need to check can only be done in Google Search Console. Now, the other big thing is something called Screaming Frog. And this is something that we can crawl a website. So we can actually put SendFox into Screaming Frog here and get a complete crawl of a website. And obviously I didn't have access to SendFox's Google Search Console because they're not an actual client, but if it was an actual client, I'd have access to their particular Google Search Console. But Screaming Frog, you can crawl any site with this. So you can even crawl other competitor websites to find out what's wrong with them as well. But you can see it takes a little while to crawl through all the pages, but then you've got a really great look at all the pages and all the problems and structure of a site. So we can start straight away, we can start looking and clicking this issues button at the top here and start looking at the highest priority issues. This is a really great window. If you're not quite sure of some stuff, you can actually go through and find the highest priority, highest issue types. Or you can go through a spreadsheet like this, go through everything in here and check in Screaming Frog where you need to, for example. And another neat trick in here is you've got a description of what the error is and it tells you how to fix it as well. So you could just go through here and pick some of the most important errors and just make sure that kind of all the biggest errors are cleaned up on your site. So that might be things like having multiple H1s on a page. You can see here their homepage has multiple H1 tags running through it, which we could actually see. We could actually go and view the page source of this site and actually see on their homepage. We could search for H1 tags on their page and see like where are all these H1 tags. We can see that littered through the page there are multiple H1 tags, which means there's multiple main headers on a page, and ideally it's best to only have one H1 tag. There might be a reason for this, like they might be using a carousel, but you can see down here I think this is an H1 tag as well as this being an H1 tag. So firstly, they don't look that keyword optimized, but secondly, there's multiple of these tags and there should only be one in the proper HTML structure of a page. So we'd be pulling errors like that out, getting them into this spreadsheet and then recommending or going and fixing those errors as we go through the strategy. So you can see here actually in a previous one that I ran, a previous example I've run, you could see that there are the responses in here and whether this has actually passed or failed or requires attention. So we can see all of these things that potentially require attention. I've made some notes as to where to put them, and I'll have a file of all the reports and anything that I need to work on. And you can see actually I pulled out all those errors, made notes and put them into our sort of strategy overview, our document overview of everything that needs to be done on this site to improve the technical areas along with some other stuff. So once I've done my technical breakdown, I'd then go onto an on-page content audit. I'd go and literally look at every page of the website, pull the URL out, maybe using Screaming Frog or a sitemap, pull the URL out into a spreadsheet, and then decide whether a page is, yes, that's good quality, we should keep that, that's ranking well because we can see the keywords it's ranking for. We could also go into a program like SEMrush and find all these pages as well, all the pages on this website that are ranking, pull all that keyword data, all those ranking information to say like, yes, this is ranking really well, this is good, we'll keep that, or no, this isn't ranking, but it really should be, but it needs to be improved for optimization, or actually, this is completely irrelevant, we should just delete this page and just remove it from the site because it's only dragging us down as a dead anchor. So that by the end of our audit, we know our technical stuff is done, we know all the pages on the site, we know the content on them, we know the rankings, and we know what's good, what needs improving, and what we can just get rid of. So from here, we can then move on. We can then move on to stage number 2. We can move on to our on-page SEO research. This is essentially keyword research. This is going to help us find the ranking opportunities. This is going to help us find out what this website should be ranking for. And then once we've found those, we know what pages to create. Now, there's a lot that goes into this. It's not as simple as just finding a keyword and writing a page and ranking on Google. It's a bit more complicated than that now. We need to look at topical relevance as to what this website deserves to rank for or what it doesn't deserve to rank for, what landing pages, what high converting pages we need to create at the bottom of the funnel, the middle of the funnel, and informational content at the top of the funnel at the end. Although there is some real nuance to this now that AI is coming involved and you've got things like AI overviews taking over a lot of the search. So let's dig into how we're going to do keyword research and build our on-page SEO strategy, because essentially this is the backbone of our SEO strategy. Without this, there's no need to build links, there's no need to do the technical, because if we don't have pages to rank, then there's nothing to show up on Google. Now, over on SendFox, we didn't need to do a massive content audit because there actually weren't that many internal content pages, blogs, landing pages actually ranking for them. It's an interesting site because it actually has a lot of user generated pages that people create landing pages for their own businesses or how they're using the tool. So that might have sprung up a lot of issues in our technical and on-page audit, but that's something a little bit out of our control when we're talking about how we can improve the rankings for those pages. There might be some technical work to do to split those off or put those neatly in their own subfolder so that they're maybe not intruding on the rest of the structure of our website. But essentially, we've got a blank slate to work with SendFox because they have a homepage, they have a pricing page, and a smart gallery page, which looks like some of their templates. So straight away, I'm already thinking, I've done a content audit. I'm thinking smart gallery pages probably should be optimized for email landing templates or email or newsletter landing page templates or something like that is going to be a good start for that sort of page. So what most people do with their SEO strategy at this point is think, well, we want to optimize our homepage for email marketing tool or email marketing. So they go and optimize all their tags and everything on this page for email marketing. And then the next thing they decide, we're going to write a lot of content. We're going to drive traffic through blog posts. And that used to work okay. It used to work quite well. But there's a big problem with this method now, because if you go and do keyword research for email marketing, for example, and you want to start looking at some informational blog posts to write about, you're going to come up with lists like this. Now, number one, it's an incredibly competitive field because email marketing companies, they understand digital marketing and they've worked hard on their SEO. There's some big players to compete with. So if you were to just go, well, we'll write a big guide, we'll write what is email marketing, you got some problems. Firstly, it's going to be really hard to rank for. I don't think you're ever going to rank for this anymore because it's 78 keyword difficulty, which means you're going to need a lot of backlinks and you're going to need really great content and you're going to need a hell of a lot of supporting content as well to create the topical authority to win these sorts of keywords. So that's not going to be a fun strategy. Plus, there's another problem. If you Google what is email marketing, you get these AI overviews. So these are going to suck up a lot of searches now for informational content. So the old plan of just write great content, just write great blog content, rank, and you might get some customers trickle down into your website that buy, it's a real struggle at the moment. Doesn't mean it can't work for some industries, but for a lot of people, that's going to be a real struggle to drive a lot of traffic. Plus, you've got to rank against the likes of MailChimp, Wikipedia, Salesforce, Coursera, all these like really top high quality brands that are going to be almost impossible to shift now. Now, there's a much better way to go about your SEO strategy, and it's all about deep targeting your customers, deep targeting their pain points and solutions, and building pages to fulfill those needs. Because then you're going to be able to fill your website with buyers, not just browsers who are reading informational content, and you're not going to get sort of sucked away and sucked out, and all the juice out of your website sucked away by AI overviews and chat GPT. You're actually going to fill your website with people who are looking for what you're selling. So how do you do that? Well, you want to start thinking more about commercial search terms. So, for example, with email marketing, you actually want to see here that all these top terms, the intent on this keyword research tool is informational. The user just wants information. They don't actually want to buy anything. So you need to segregate keywords in your mind. Informational keywords and commercial keywords. What are ones that are actually going to drive revenue? And you can actually do that on a keyword research tool by hitting this intent button, clicking commercial and transactional. So you want to start going through and finding keywords in these tools that are going to be much better suited to driving revenue for your business. And when you're doing this, you can start creating whole sections on your websites that are designed to drive commercial keywords, topics to drive revenue. And these generally fall into sort of three different scenarios. They're either use case pages, industry pages, or location pages. Location pages great for local businesses, industries type pages great for businesses that span different sectors. For example, as an SEO specialist, I could span almost any sector. I could do SEO for email marketing. I could do SEO for a plumber. I could span different industries or use cases. Your product or service can be used for various different things. So there's a number of ways to go and find these keywords, but some people get a little sort of stuck in their brain and they just think, I just want to rank for email marketing terms, which is fine. But as we discovered, it might be a little competitive or hard to find different ways in which people are searching for these products. So if you're stuck looking at keywords and thinking, well, there's just nothing, I can't find any other ways that someone might search for what I sell, then I've actually got this deep target SEO prompt reframing document where I've got a list of prompts which help break free of that. So we can actually go over to ChatGPT, pop this prompt in here, and say list 25 specific business scenarios where someone would desperately need email marketing or newsletter tool and would search with buying intent. And then we can start to use AI to start come up with some other ideas as to how someone would use this. And straight away we can think, oh, I was only thinking of email marketing related keywords as we found here. It's like, well, those are all kind of sucked up and taken. How else can we reframe our product? Or how else can we come up with other use cases or other industries for our product that aren't so swamped? So you can see here, launching an online course, running flash sales or promotions, collecting leads from a webinar. These are all starting to now come up with topics that we could start creating pages about, whether they're high converting landing pages or high converting blog posts that are delivering the solution for someone through our content, and start to search around these keywords. So now you have this, you can go back to your keyword research tool and start searching around these other topics for your website keyword research. Now, once you've found keywords, you want to group them into nice, tight clusters or sectors or industries. For example, we've got all our keywords that we've been working on for SendFox that I found, and I've grouped them into section that we can build out on the website, which can literally target different industries or different sectors. So you can see here, we've collected a load of different email marketing for terms, email marketing for jury, email marketing for higher education, for franchises, for agencies, that are actually pretty low difficulty in a lot of respects. Email marketing for chiropractor, okay, it might only have 40 monthly searches, but actually has zero difficulty. So we can really easily create pages that are going to attract email marketing for chiropractors who are looking to do email marketing and could use our tool to do it. We're really not having to compete. We're not going to really have to build backlinks. We're just going to have to create a nice page and get it nicely internally linked and published on our site. But you could go and say, like, let's pick the top one here, for example, email marketing for agencies. Now, I've only picked one keyword in this list, but often you'll see here that maybe email marketing for agencies has a monthly search volume of 320 in the United States. That's how many people are searching that term. But you'll actually see globally, it's more like 9.9K. Even a keyword difficulty of 30, which is very possible, is a really great keyword. And you can see its cost per click, if you were paying for Google Ads, would be nearly $13 to get a click onto your website. So this is a highly valuable term, and you'll see as well that it actually will come with a lot of other ideas or a lot of other keywords that it might rank for as well. Email marketing platform for agencies, for example, we could actually add into our keyword research. So some people will actually add more keywords into this target area for each page. You could have 5 or 10 keywords that you want to target for a particular page because they're kind of the same but different, which would increase your broad view of overall monthly searches. I sometimes like to keep it simple. I know there's a lot more traffic out there, but I like to stay focused on the main overarching keyword that we want to rank for and let the other stuff naturally come out in our content, or we can add them further along this document. We could create another column with subcategory keywords or sub keywords that we want to use on this page as well and target on this page. But essentially, this is a really nice strategy because from here, we can just go and create all these pages. And these don't necessarily, because these are commercial terms, not informational terms, they don't have to be necessarily 3 or 4 or 5,000 word blog posts to rank. You might write an accompanying blog post to support your commercial page, but essentially we can just go and build out landing pages on our website that may be 3, 4, 500 words long using a set template. You can see actually here that Campaign Monitor have an agencies page. This is a competitor that they've actually done an agencies page, email marketing platform built for agencies. You see that it's actually like, okay, it's nicely designed, but it's quite simple. It's not thousands and thousands of words of text. It's a simple, nicely constructed landing page that's designed to convert customers. So once you have a template for your landing pages, you can just rinse and repeat these pages. You can see, actually, I found one of the competitors as well, ConvertKit, has used this sort of strategy, and I can show you how you could build it out on SendFox's website as well. Is they've done it, okay, they've done / use cases for their product, but you can see on their use cases page where they've collected all these keywords into one nice hub on their website, a use cases hub. We were going for a sectors hub or an industries hub. They've done it as use cases. You can see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pages they've created on this hub. They don't actually have agencies on there, but you can see, I think we had YouTubers. Yeah, Email marketing for YouTube channel we had as one of our particular targets. They've got email marketing for YouTube's as one of their landing pages on their website. You can see here that it's not an overly complex page. This is a few hundred words, nicely laid out left to right on their pages. I've actually got another template which I use for landing pages here, the ultimate landing page template, which you can see how you break down these pages with the different sections you need on them. But you can create a template on your website and then just change in and out the images on the website, on the page, to create these pages really, really quickly. You're not going to have to write thousands and thousands of words. It's just commercial landing pages that you want to rank on Google. And this is where, okay, they might be lower volume, but actually they're going to be high converting because you're providing a solution for someone directly. Instead of just having everyone trying to land on an email marketing platform, email marketing for jewelry, email marketing for higher education, and you write your content and information on that page that shows your tool as a great solution for this particular industry or problem or person, they're going to convert really well versus just sort of mixing in with the masses as just another email marketing tool. So you can see the competitors I've actually found as we're doing this are running these sorts of strategies, but there's still a lot of opportunities in here to do this for this example website. So essentially what we're saying here is build hubs on your website that target the use cases, the industry, and the locations that your product fulfills. And you can see that as a great example of what ConvertKit or Kit have done here on their use cases area of their website. Really good example of that. Now, if you want to go and support this with blog content and build topical authority, that's great. That's the next step. Once you build out the bottom of the funnel, you can start working your way up with converting blog posts and informational content at the top to drive more and more traffic. But if you're not building the bottom of the funnel, then the rest of it's kind of a waste of time because you're not actually going to convert many users. So start at the bottom, work your way up. But even if you were to just build these hubs, you'd still get great results like the example I showed you at the beginning of this video. Now, the final thing I want to discuss is off-page SEO, aka backlinks. Now, backlinks are super important for a website because these are your fuel. If you think of SEO as a car, your on-page, your keyword, your content on your website are the actual vehicle, the wheels, the steering wheel, the engine of your website. It needs fuel, and backlinks are the gas. They're the thing that's going to drive your website to where it needs to go. Now, a lot of the keywords that are really low difficulty and no competition, you don't necessarily need any fuel to get there. You're already in the right place. You'll rank really easily. But if there's more competition out there, or you need the foundation of the website to be ranked on Google and build trust to just get any traffic, then you need to build links. And this can come in many different forms. You can use earned media. You could buy backlinks, you could write guest posts on other websites, but essentially we need other websites to be recommending our website as a trustworthy source of information. Now, let's go look at what SendFox are doing in this respect. So we can actually go and analyze SendFox's backlink and trust of its website. It doesn't look like they do a lot of SEO. So it'll be interesting to see if they've got any authority and trust around the web. So you can see here in SEMrush, this is an SEO tool. You can see they've got an authority score of 33. That's pretty decent, probably above average for most websites, although it's not the most authoritative thing out there. The higher an authority score, 1 to 100, generally speaking, the more trustworthy and easier it is to rank a website. These numbers can be manipulated because they're just scores from exterior tools. It's not an official Google metric in here. The more quality relevant backlinks a site has, the more trustworthy it is, the more authoritative it is, and the easier it will be to rank content. So if you've got particularly difficult search terms you want to rank, then you need to build backlinks for them. Now, interestingly with SendFox is they've got a lot of links and they've got a lot of really high quality backlinks. You can see that some of the biggest websites in the world, Apple, GitHub, Wikipedia, Yahoo, podcasting sites, Patreon, Substack, all these sort of creator sites as well are linking to them, which is great relevant authority and all sorts of other things. Now, this is interesting because they come from a lot of the users' pages. They're not necessarily to the homepage of the website. You'll be able to see iheart.com, for example. You can see they're pointing at random pages on the site that are landing pages that customers have created. So /LP, you can see in the top here, is a landing page created by a user to convert people onto their email list. So this is quite a sneaky little tactic that has appeared for SendFox to build their domain authority, and other people are doing the link building for them, basically. So we might actually not need to do a lot of link building initially because they've got some initial domain authority. But in the long term, if we're struggling to rank for stuff, we might want to start reaching out to other websites to allow us to write content on them and get links back to ours, doing partnerships with other websites to get links between different businesses to our website, or using something like Harrow Helper Reporter Out, which is a sort of service where journalists request sources and quotes for their stories. There's a few of these sites. There's like featured.com as well, which you can use. And it's journalists looking for sources. You can reply to them with your expert comment. And if you get mentioned in their article, they'll often link back to your website. This is a great source of free links as well. Or you could resort to plain old buying them from other websites. Now, if you are looking at what's a good link and what's not a good link, then there are some key factors that you need to understand. And I've got this little backlink evaluation checklist that can tell you whether a link you want to acquire or that you have acquired is actually good. And you just go through and you say, does it have topical relevance? Is this website linking to my website? Is it relevant to my industry? Yes or no? We want things to be relevant. Does the website have topical relevance, or does the page linking to you have topical relevance? Even if the maybe website overall is slightly outside of your industry, but the page we're talking about or the context of the article is relevant to what you do, then that still qualifies as good relevance. What is the domain authority, domain ranking? We just discussed that on SendFox and all the other ones. You can see these authority scores, domain scores here are 100. These are really high, trustworthy, authoritative domains. That's great. You want as much authority as possible. Best scenario is high relevance and high authority. Those are the perfect backlinks to get. But there's some other factors as well to check, because some websites spoof their domain metrics in these tools. So you also want to check is like, does a page or a website have organic traffic? Is this a real high quality website that drives organic traffic from Google? There's no better signal that this is a quality website than if Google actually drives traffic to it already. That's a great signal. We can look at traffic trends. Was the site previously really high quality or have high rankings, but it's been hit by a Google penalty because it's fallen off a cliff? That's getting really into the weeds of this stuff. Now, one little trick that I like to use that might be useful for SendFox here is actually going into SEMrush and looking at this indexed pages bit in the backlink analytics, because this is going to give us some insight as to not just which pages that are indexed by Google and have the most links. You can see here the top linked pages that are going to have the most authority and most SEO juice around the web that we can harness. We've also got this button, broken pages. Broken pages are pages on this website that have been taken offline, but they have backlinks pointing to them. And you're kind of wasting that authority and that SEO juice, because when Google crawls through that link, it just hits a dead page on our website. So we might be able to do something a little clever and actually find pages on SendFox that are offline and not being used by creators anymore, and actually redirect them, 301 redirect them to other relevant pages on our website. For example, this sendfox.com autocomplete marketing used to be a page created for a landing page for a particular user of the platform. They're clearly no longer using it anymore. We could round this up and say, like, forward it to our page about agency marketing, for example, to push that backlink juice through the website better. That might be a little trick to look for that comes down into boiling down a strategy. But essentially, once we've gone through this process of a website audit, then done our on-page SEO research to build out our plan for what pages and content we need to create, and had a look at our off-page SEO, where we need to improve the backlinks, where we need to drive the authority to on this website, and how we're going to do it, we can start to put all this together into our completed SEO plan.